When I was interviewed for the call at my church, I was meeting with the call committee, and the paperwork had said they were looking for a family man, somebody who liked children. And I said, I just want you to understand that I will never be a family man. I have a family, I love families, but I'm not ever going to be a man. And they all kind of laughed. And then they said, well, we think we have some people in the congregation who might not want us to call a woman. And so, they're sort of in the closet. What should we do? And I said, well, the first thing you have to do is get them out of the closet and talk about it. And said, and the thing you have to understand is you've had one male pastor for 31 years now. You're going to have change. You're going to experience change no matter who you call. And there's going to be a point in the service when the pastor always used to raise his right hand and the new pastor is going to raise their left hand and everybody's going to say, oh, I thought it was supposed to be the right hand. And you're going to experience those kinds of changes no matter what. And in spite of the doubts of the synod office and everyone else, they called a woman. So it was, that was a good experience for me.
I think that my experience of being female does have an impact in positive ways, especially when it comes to pastoral care, because there are things that women tell me in pastoral care situations that I know women generally are not sharing with my husband, for example, who is also a pastor. So I can come back from being at the bedside of a woman who has had a hysterectomy or is struggling with a female type of cancer, breast or uterine or ovarian, and the kind of intimate conversations that we can have about that, the effects on the body, where God is in the midst of those effects on the body, is much more intimate. And I've had those moments where those conversations can be more personal and much deeper. And that's a gift that I can bring, being a female, to other women, that my husband says those are not conversations that he's having with women. So there's some real concrete experiences of that. I'm a breast cancer survivor myself. And I noticed that when I got back from treatment, I was on disability during treatment, and when I returned, I had a completely qualitatively different conversation with people pastorally. I think because they knew that I knew what it was like to be in the hospital bed instead of standing by the bedside. And maybe that also, I hope that also happens with my male colleagues if they have been through a trauma, that it opens up a pastoral door that wasn't there before. Not that I wish them to go through a trauma, I do not, of course, but the kind of transparency and vulnerability and emotional availability was really there. And I think that as a woman, that tends to be more available because women tend to express emotion more. I tend to bring more vulnerability to my role as pastor than I've experienced in the male pastors I've had throughout my life. And I think that helps other people become more emotionally vulnerable with me as a pastor.
The empathy, the willingness to sit down and listen and not talk to, but listen to, makes a difference. I'm able to hear their stories. They're not afraid to tell me their stories. And from the 85-year-olds to the 8-year-olds, they have stories and they're willing to share. I think with me more because I am a woman, some things they wouldn't share with a man.
Okay. I was a pastor already when I became pregnant and had 2 babies since I've been serving at Bethany, and that my theology changed as as my experience of pregnancy and parenthood changed. I thought of things differently and what it means to be embodied, to worship a God who's incarnate in a human body. Even though Jesus Christ been a man, the experience of having a body, we don't talk about a lot in our theology, but I couldn't get away from it. I couldn't get away from feeling nauseous while presiding at communion while I was pregnant, and having my crackers and Gatorade stashed around the chancel. Like it was just part of how I had to do that part of my job.
I think being a woman in ministry, for me, it's difficult at times because, especially for me, because I'm also 5'1". So I don't have this commanding presence when I walk into a room. And a lot of times I need to sort of earn, or I feel like I need to earn some of my space there, because I don't necessarily get the authority, when people see me. But I think I use that as an advantage, because I'm able to create relationships and I'm able to create community in ways that helps people put down walls that they might have up about who they think should be a leader. And I think that's sort of like a superpower that we have in some ways.